The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power into creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. It is a pleasure to be here, to be talking to you, and just to be thriving, absolutely thriving on this Wednesday night. So many things to be happy about, not least of which in the Star Trek universe of all places. Have to talk about this, even though it has nothing to do with the entertainment industry. The entire cast of Star Trek The Next Generation is going to be in Season 3 of Star Trek Picard. Yes, they have let 7-year-old Ryan in charge of the casting decisions at Star Trek, and we're bringing all of his childhood friends back for one last ride with Jean-Luc Picard. How can you not be excited about that? And speaking of things to be excited about, our guest coming up in the next segment, thrilled, tickled pink even, to be talking to Vinny Ribas. He is a music manager, the founder of the Indie Connect platform, super great artist empowerment platform there, lots of great informational resources. He's creating a new platform called Cardney, which is going to have a lot of instructional videos for indie creators. We're going to talk to him all about that, get his advice on how to move your careers forward, and just, continue to thrive here, folks. And as if that wasn't enough to be happy about, to be in a good mood about, we just had the Grammys on Sunday, and so I'm having my post-Grammy afterglow right now, feeling great. Want to talk to Lauren about it. Hey, Lauren, how's it going?
Hi, Ryan. How you doing?
I am doing wonderfully because, as aforementioned, the entire Star Trek game coming back for Season 3 of Star Trek Picard. That's great. Vinny Ribas joining us. And as I said before, the aforementioned post-Grammys afterglow that I'm in, feeling great about that. Did you catch any of the Grammys? Did you check out this fantastic broadcast?
I watched. I was with somebody who turned it on because I'm usually terrible at turning on the television.
Especially when it's live TV, right? You never remember to actually watch stuff when it's on these days anymore.
I used to. Well, we also didn't used to have options if we want to date ourselves. Like, you didn't used to have on demand. You only watched what was on when it was on.
That's right.
Or you took your VCR and you recorded it and watched the tapes back later.
VHS. I mean, other than award shows and sporting events, there's not much that actually makes you watch it when it's on anymore. But the Grammys are that for me every year. It was fabulous. The performances were great. And one of my favorite pop songs of the year, Kiss Me More by Doja Cat, won best pop performance, which was cool. I adore Doja Cat. She's so unhinged on TikTok, and it's lovely. And she's brought that unhingedness into her Grammy speech. She almost missed her acceptance speech because she was peeing.
She went to the bathroom.
Sprinted.
Who goes right before you're nominated?
I know. You got to see the itinerary. Okay, you got to have at least a good 2 or 3 categories in between you. Okay, look, we still got best Tejano album here. We got best, spoken word, best barbershop quartet. All right, I got time to go to the bathroom. But now she's like, what? Best pop performance coming up in 15 seconds? I got time to go. No, she didn't.
Maybe it was intentional. Maybe she couldn't take the pressure. She's like, I got to get out of here. It's not going to happen anyway. I'm just going to go. And then she was like, wait, it happened? No way. Got to get back in.
She should have known. She should have known, because that song absolutely slaps, and I am so happy for her. But I would say, of all the categories that I was most excited to hear about, Lauren, the one that I was most excited about, the one that I got biggest smile on my face, was not actually one of the telecast categories. So some people don't know this, but the vast majority of Grammy Awards that are given out in what are called the pre-telecast awards. I would say 80% of the Grammy Awards given out are not actually given out during the CBS broadcast. And one of those pre-telecast awards was for Best Musical Theater Album, which, given our respective backgrounds, Lauren, I would say you were probably more excited for that category every year than I am, because you're the big musical theater head. But I couldn't help but be excited about the duo that won for Best Musical Theater Album this year, because it's such an incredible story
Really
of
is.
indie creator empowerment. And before we talk about this story, before we talk about the winner of this category, I want to take it back to our show about 4 weeks ago, Lauren. You remember we had JT Daly on the program, a fantastic independent artist, and he was talking about how he worked with the Dan Le Batard Show, a sports radio podcast, to create a musical album about the Super Bowl using the cast members, that's not the right word, the hosts of this sports radio show. None of them were professional singers. They had no professional musicians. JT Daly, the only professional musician in this bunch, had to produce this album in 30 days, this musical about the Super Bowl. And damn it if the thing isn't a masterpiece. And we interviewed him all about it. And I've been listening to episodes of the Le Batard Show since our interview, and they've been talking about what they want to do with this album. And they've made no secret of the fact that they want to take this Dan Le Batard Super Bowl album and they want to go for a Grammy. They want to win Best Musical Theater Album. And up until Sunday's Grammys, I was saying to myself, this is silly. They are never going to give the Grammy for Best Musical Theater Album to something that wasn't created by Andrew Lloyd Webber, something that never actually was on Broadway, or, forget on Broadway, has never been staged as a musical, only exists in the auditory medium as an album. They are never going to give a Grammy award for that. But now I have to eat my words, because this year's Grammy Award winner for Best Musical Theater Album, beating out the likes of Andrew Lloyd Webber and Stephen Schwartz, my God, was the unofficial Bridgerton musical by indie creators and TikTokers Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear. I've listened to the album. It's tremendous. And the story of how it all came together is such an amazing tale of indie creator empowerment. I want to talk to you all about it. Before we get into the background on this, do you have any initial thoughts about can you give us an idea of how mind blowing this is? For those people who don't know who Andrew Lloyd Webber is, who Stephen Schwartz is, what order of magnitude of crazy is it that these two TikTokers, off the street, a couple of barely not teenagers on TikTok, beat out Andrew Lloyd Webber for Best Musical Theater Album? How insane, Lauren? Give us some perspective.
It's super insane, but at the same time, it shows a huge transition in the area. And I would say if I were the Andrew Lloyd Webbers and Stephen Schwartzes of the world, I'd be a little, not nervous, but called to attention. It's time to up your game, because they have lived in a world that was dominated by male composers writing shows that were produced by very wealthy people to be put on stages to be seen by very wealthy people. And it's an industry that is very different than I thought it was growing up. And I'm kind of excited by this new generation that's not doing things necessarily directly to Broadway or planned for that route. But I do think it's scary that the people who have basically defined what this industry is, who created an industry that didn't exist before, Andrew Lloyd Webber is a pretty early person. I mean, you've got, Rodgers and Hammerstein coming before him, and, Gershwin or something. But these are people who have developed what we think of as American musical theater.
Right.
And these are the founders of what is being created. So yeah, to outperform, I guess, to win an award over people that you had to have come up listening to and admiring is a huge deal. Huge deal.
And again, with no major label support, with no big time Broadway producers behind you. The story,
with no
Lauren.
Cast, really. I mean, it's the two of them singing all of the roles. They didn't go through casting. They didn't hire an orchestra. There isn't this big production value. It's two people singing in their bedroom. We need to begin at the beginning with this, Lauren, so that the viewers and listeners get an idea of how incomprehensible and how amazing this is. Okay, this all started in January of 2021. TikToker and musician Abigail Barlow posts on her TikTok account and just says, what if Bridgerton, this Netflix series,
which is basically like if HBO was in charge of Downton Abbey. What if Bridgerton was a musical? And she just sings a song that she wrote. Like, that would be like, if this were a Bridgerton musical, I bet this song that I wrote would be in it. And that's all it was. She just sang it. And it was a spark. All of a sudden, all these people on TikTok who were following her is like, oh my God, this is amazing. Oh, I have this idea for a song. You should do a song about this character. I've designed a costume that I think would be in the show. And it got bigger and bigger.
What about this choreography?
Yeah.
I would do this dance. Yeah, they were in it.
So once some groundswell was starting to develop amongst her little TikTok community, she reaches out to her friend, a composer, musician, and piano prodigy, Abigail Bear, and they say, let's make this musical, the two of us. We're going to do 15 songs as if the Bridgerton TV series was a musical, and they start writing the album together. And rather than the way a lot of artists write albums, which is sort of like huddled away, you know, often like some remote location away from the world, just like locking themselves in a room, they collaborate actively with their fans. They solicit ideas for song lyrics and, what character should sing this song. They make it a collaborative process.
And test what works, what doesn't work, like real time. Yeah, it's workshopping in real time.
That's the word I'm looking for, right? It's a TikTok. I was trying to remember what you Broadway people call it. It was a workshop, but it was like a workshop with millions of people around the world on TikTok. And they fine tune and refine this song, writing it along the way, this beautiful fan collaboration. People on TikTok are proposing the playbill designs, choreography, all this stuff. And as you noted, right, they didn't take this to some professional studio and have professional producers make it. They sang all the parts themselves, and Abigail Bear produced the entire album herself, all of the instruments on her computer from her home.
A keyboard and a computer in a bedroom. That's it.
Yeah. And guys, I shouldn't need to tell you because the Grammy sort of bears this out. It's incredible.
It's 37 minutes long. Like, we're not talking about this huge giant album. We're talking about two musicians, entertainers, vocalists, creators, creating this piece. But all of this, you need to have this and you need to do this. And if you don't do this, you won't succeed in this. I mean, these two women just blew that out of the water. Like, yeah, whatever. We're not going to do it in isolation. We're going to do it with everybody. A full cast? We don't need a full cast. We'll just do it. Wait, orchestration? Nah, we'll just do it in our bedroom. It's totally fine. Oh, we won a Grammy? Cool.
Oh, yeah. And so, right, smash cut to today, this album that they released independently gets nominated for a Grammy for Best Musical Theater Album against
right there would have
Andrew
blown
Lloyd
my
Webber.
mind. Like, just nominated.
Phantom of the Opera, Andrew Lloyd Webber, Godspell, Stephen Schwartz. They're up against them. Like, at that point, you need to just say, and really mean it, it's an honor just to be nominated. And had that been the end of this journey, that would have been a tremendous feather in their cap. It would have been a whole bird worth of feathers in their cap. But no, they weren't done. They won the damn thing, beating out Andrew Lloyd. And by the way, they were like so diplomatic about it. Like, oh, Andrew Lloyd Webber, you're our hero. This is such an honor. I would have been like, behind the scenes, like, yeah, I beat Andrew Lloyd Webber in Best Musical Theater Album. What?
So in November of last year, I went to the Theater Makers convention that they have every year. Brilliant. I love it. I recommend it to everybody. Yeah. But they were brought in as speakers and panelists. And at the conference, they interviewed Andrew Lloyd Webber. So they were sitting in a room with, Barlow and Bear, like asking questions. I mean, super, starstruck, like sitting there with Andrew Lloyd Webber being like, we worship you. We can't believe we get to ask these questions to you. And it was wonderful being in a virtual room with them and Andrew Lloyd Webber and listening to these discussions. And then, flash forward to they just beat Andrew Lloyd Webber out for a Grammy. Like, nobody saw that coming. And just Vinny, who's hanging out backstage, and we're going to chat with him after the break, he just put into our private chat that Andrew Lloyd Webber is now on TikTok. And I'm not sure if, his friends, Abigail and Emily, helped convince him he needed to do that.
He's got to get some of his audience back that Barlow and Bear jacked from them. Like
He's got fans there. I mean, coming
Yeah.
on is probably the best thing he could do for his career, but I love what that says
Yeah.
about indie creators as well. Even these well-known big name people are realizing that creating things independently while giving access to their fans is working for other people, but is also access to their fans, and they don't want to lose them, and they may enjoy the sharing of their projects with them. So I'm excited that Andrew Lloyd Webber's on TikTok. That's fun. I want to see what he does.
It's a welcome development. Happy to have him in that house of horrors.
Yeah.
There's so many layers to this story. I don't even know where to start peeling. How about the fact that Abigail Barlow, she was interviewed in the New York Times after she won the Grammy. And one of the first things she mentioned was how close she came to just giving up on her career. A quote from an article that I'm reading, she wrote, "We were both really depressed, her and Bear. It is hard to break into the music industry, and I was ready to give up. I was applying for record label receptionist jobs and crying to my parents because they had been helping to support me in Los Angeles, and they were like, 'You need to get a real job. We can't help you anymore.' It was a really hard decision to try to chase it one more time." And like right
We're
here,
glad they did. Yeah.
we're glad they did. It catches fire. And from our perspective, right? Because we're the be very careful signing with record labels, achieve your own independence, keep your masters, keep your publishing. They had a pretty cool quote from the article. I think you actually snagged it. You can put it up here. Talking about that phenomenon. Talked about doing the Bridgerton musical album without a record label. Because as they were starting to put this album out, they realized that, once it started to catch a little bit of buzz on TikTok, they had record label opportunities. From the article, quote, "In the beginning, when it first started to blow up, we had a few conversations with labels, but none of it felt right. We knew that we wanted to capitalize on the moment, and we knew that the faster we released it, the better." And then Bear writes, quote, "We would have gotten an orchestra and a cast, and that would have taken a lot of time and a lot of money." She's talking about if they were to get a label. "And why sign a label deal and not own all of our masters and publishing? We were like, let's just put it out ourselves. Let's just put it out ourselves. Let's just put it on DistroKid. And we'll win the Grammy and we'll beat Andrew Lloyd Webber, the greatest musical writer ever. I love Gen Zers. They're the best. Quote, "And I remember the night the album came out and we just saw it climbing the charts. We had fans who were constantly bugging us to release the album. So we knew we would have listeners, but I didn't quite expect that much." Oh my gosh. I mean, that's it. I mean, so like they're definitely speaking to this program, right? Go your own way, keep your masters, build your fan base organically, and then unleash them on the world. And don't wait for a label to give you permission to achieve what is rightfully yours. I mean, that if that's not breaking the business, I don't know what is. Woo!
Yeah. It also made me flash back to our guest from Oralex who was talking about his guy that won a Grammy for a song he wrote in a brick apartment, like an apartment with brick walls, because he said, we talk about how you need this perfect sound and you need to isolate the sound. He said it's about controlling the sound. It's about creating what you want with the space you have and not necessarily getting the what everybody tells you need to have. And I thought that was great. And that's the same kind of thing here. They created in the space they had and made it work. And that's a lesson to all of us. We don't need to have the perfect anything. We just need to work with what we've got.
Yeah. What you need, and really from what I'm seeing in examples like that, the only thing you need is the community.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. And that's not an easy thing.
No.
Both of them had followings. Like, it's not like, hey,
Yeah.
I created this musical and then I took off. Like, they both had followings with their music to begin with.
Yeah. You need to invest in it. You need to put in the time and the effort and the resources to make that community happen. But the community is more important than the space age studio. It's more important than the record label's resources. It's more important than the publishing company. It's more important than the entertainment lawyers, than the agents, than the managers. That community can take you everywhere you need to go, including to a freaking Grammy Award. And, Lord knows what they're going to be doing next. But Oh,
It's
what
more
a
important than the
heartwarming story.
storyline. I mean,
Yeah.
let's be honest, you could be singing about the most important thing and no one will listen, and you could be singing about the most inane thing, and as long as people are hooked into what you're singing, it's great. I don't know if you caught, the other piece I was saying, I'm a little nervous about it, seeing what they do
Nervous what they're
next.
going to do next. What's that?
Yeah,
Why is
well,
that?
because, you see this happen so often, like, they create something organically, and they pave a way for a way something hasn't been done before, and when the industry goes, "Ooh, this worked, this is great, let us take you under our wing," and all of the sudden, sometimes they lose that organic. I'm trying to remember, and of course, this feeds into your example. I'm trying to remember the artist you used to use an example of where you were like, "She's the number 1 person on
Oh,
MySpace," and then, like,
I have a couple
disappeared.
examples of that for sure. It's one of the many things that frustrate me about record labels. This is like the most modern example of what frustrates me is their unyielding tendency to take a viral star and take them from their indie world, sign them to a label, and then you never freaking hear from them again. Because they go to a Tara Naomi, who's the artist I was telling you about before, or they go to an artist like Carmen that was really popular on YouTube, or they go to Bella Porch or Jax or any of these people, and they say, hey, you're super popular on TikTok. You're doing really cool things on TikTok. You're building this great fan base and you're collaborating with them and you're talking with them multiple times a day and you got this great little community. We want to sign you. Oh, cool. Am I going to be able to keep talking to my community? Oh, no. We're going to hide you away because we need to keep you mysterious. We need to.
And we want to control what you put out, and we want to have right of first refusal. We want to decide if the audience is allowed to see it instead of letting your audience decide what they want to see.
So are you fearful that that's what might be happening here?
Okay, so I just saw, I'll put it up for you in a second. I just saw this one quote in an interview and I went, wait, what's going on behind the scenes? Because of course nobody tells us anything. But if I pop this up here, so they were discussing, what's up next. And they were like, well, we've got some stuff. And then Barlow says, and I quote, Bridgerton gave us a foot in the door and we still have to keep it hush hush. And I'm like, these people, number one, who exposed everything are now keeping hush hush.
They've never hush hushed.
I know. Bear says, which is totally against our MO. And it's a little frustrating because as we're writing this music, we want to share it with everyone. What's better PR for a project than getting people on board early? By the time it comes out, they know the music, they feel invested, they were there when it happened. And nothing else is said in this article or in the interview about this statement. But it makes me go, not only are they keeping hush hush about their next project, but they're expressing a little bit of, quote it, frustration. Because they want to be doing things a way other than they're currently doing them. And it makes me ask why. And the why doesn't seem to be because it's what they want to do. And so who is now influencing those decisions? And I don't know the answer to that, but that makes me nervous because I loved that organic feel and what they did. And I think that's a great lesson for other people to do. I want people to be creating musicals, but any creative art while having this real-time interaction with your audience and your fans, which is something that wasn't done, a generation ago. And it's an amazing tool. And I think it's where the industry is going. And I'm excited about that. In the transition, I'm scared. I'm scared that we'll lose brilliant creators to the powers that be because even though they fought for what they believed in for a really long time, they're now not fighting or not fighting hard enough for, I'm not giving up my fan base and I'm not going to keep it hush hush because that's not how we do things. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. We'll see what happens.
I don't know, but you've now scared me about this, that we're going to lose Barlow and Bear because some labels already gotten their claws in them. They're going to lock them away in some far bunker somewhere where they're going to write an album that nobody's going to care about because all their fans are going to have forgotten about them because they don't get to collaborate with them every day. Now you got me scared and worried because here's what the Barlow and Bear example is, just the latest example of a trend of, and it's a trend that the music industry and even us as lawyers, as entertainment lawyers, still haven't fully been able to wrap our arms around yet, is for the first 99.9% of the history of our industry of entertainment, it's been built around the finished product and the release of that product. An album, a musical that is staged somewhere, a movie that we watch in theaters, whatever the thing is. But what this project is telling us is that this current generation of young people see the product as the process. They want to see it from the beginning, and more importantly, they want to be a part of it from the beginning. For them, being a part of the journey is the thing that they get the utility from. So if all Barlow and Bear's next project is going to be is, here's the album, we already finished it, all their fans are going to be like, wait, I didn't get to pitch any lyrics.
Ooh, I just thought about
thing.
something. Okay, so that was the big wow. Now I'm thinking back to musical theater world, right?
Yeah.
And people pay a lot of money to be in those early stages, to get into the workshop. The early producers are putting in tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars into early stages of musicals so that they have access to what's going on, access to behind the scenes, and giving that away to your audience and having them collaborate with you and deal with things may make it harder to get those big money investors early on. You've now got a name and publicity, and you can make sure that anyone who doesn't invest a minimum of $50,000 in your musical doesn't get into the workshop room. And so now are we going back to in order to have a show on Broadway, you have to have those accredited investors working with your show, and you can't get them if you're giving it to, everybody on your TikTok page. And that's a weird world, because that's your audience. But can that audience bring you in $10 million to put a show on Broadway? I don't know. The industry needs to adjust to the creators and not the other way around. And even us lawyers, we have a lot of work to do. Yeah.
Because here's the first thing I think about when I read this story of like the Bridgerton musical being created as this kind of cloud of creators, like all sort of throwing stuff at the wall together and creating this project together. As an entertainment lawyer, my first thought is, whoa, all those people are collaborating? Where are the split sheets? Where are the contracts that say who owns what? Like, are any of those 300 people who are pitching lyrics to Barlow and Bear, are they going to say, well, where's my cut of the copyright? Where's my piece of the song? And so but like the Gen Zers, they don't care about that. They're like, whatever, old guy, we just want to have fun and make stuff. And it's my job as a lawyer and all of our jobs as lawyers to figure out how to make the law meet their process. Because the last thing we want to do is like make it uncool by coming in with a bunch of documents. Hey, you kids, like the mom coming in with like the pizza or the Rice Krispie treats while the kids are just trying to like have fun during their slumber party. Like, I'm coming in there, hey, all you 100,000 creators making this Bridgerton musical, here, do y'all want to sign these split sheet agreements? They'll be like, yeah, get out of here, Grandpa.
Can we do something like that on the pages themselves? Like if you follow Break the Business and there's a disclaimer that says, all conversations happening during our live stream are the ownership and used by the, production team of whatever. Like, is there a way on the platforms to be able to add that disclaimer to certain pages? Can you upgrade to a production page where on your production page those things are kind of released so people are aware? I don't know.
I'll give you a lawyer's favorite answer. Maybe. It depends. We have to figure that out. And the labels have to figure out how to meet Gen Z where they are on their process and not try to make albums the way they did 20 years ago. Publishing companies, managers, booking agents, we have to change for this generation. We can't make this generation change for us, or we're going to miss out on some really beautiful works of art. Okay. Let us take a break. We're going to talk with Vinny Rebus after the break, because I'm interested in getting his thoughts on a couple of these things. Don't go anywhere. Keep checking out Break the Business.
Ryan Kairalla here. I hope you're enjoying the show, and I hope that you're getting a lot out of it. I do what I do because I care about creators like you. A lot. I've dedicated my career to helping creative professionals, entrepreneurs, and organizations move forward. I do it by hosting this program,
and I'm also proud to do it in my legal practice. If you're a creative professional looking for solutions-oriented legal services to help you further your goals, I'd love to help. My firm RKPA does contracts, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Visit rkpalaw.com to learn more. That's rkpalaw.com. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show. Welcome back to Break the Business, everybody. You can check us out on Facebook Live, Twitter Live, Twitch, YouTube Live, SiriusXM 145, and all major podcast platforms. Wherever you're checking us out, boy, are we so happy to have you around. Speaking of folks we're happy to have around the program, let's bring out our guest for this week. He is the founder of the Indie Connect Artist Development Company and has over 50 years of experience as a music manager and coach. His latest project is Cardney, an information platform in development that will feature over 500 videos on how the music industry works. You can find out more about our guest's work by visiting www.indieconnect.com and www.cardney.com. We are thrilled to welcome Vinny Rebus on to Break the Business. Hello, Vinny.
Hello. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Great to have you here, sir. Excited to hear about the great work that you're doing. But first, I wonder if you'd indulge us a little bit and help us carry our conversation from the previous segment. I don't know how much of it you were listening to, but we were talking about these two TikTokers, Barlow and Bear, that on Sunday beat out Andrew Lloyd Webber for the Grammy Award for Best Musical Theater Album on an album that they made with their friends on TikTok at their house, producing it themselves. Given how long you've been in the industry and you've seen sort of how it's changed and evolved, what initial impressions do you get when you hear a story like this?
I am thrilled. I am absolutely thrilled because it does break the machine, just like you say. The machine is so stuck, and it's been for so many years, and they always feel like everybody has to fit their mold. And finally, people are being able to they have the outlet, like you said, they have the following that changes everything. It changes the game. It used to be that the record label was the one that got you the following. Now you're bringing that with you. And so you have more control over what you're saying, what you're doing. So I love that.
It's an exciting development. Would you say that's sort of the biggest shift that you've seen in the music industry overall since from when you started?
Absolutely. Putting the power in the hands of the creator and letting them, navigate their way from there, to me is just so important because it opens the doors for anybody who's creative enough to do this and learns a little bit about the business. You still, like you've been saying, you still have to know how to maintain your publishing. You have to avoid the scammers that are going to come and try to sign you to a label that's bogus or whatever. You have to have all that, but it's really just an amazing shift to put that power in the hands of the creators.
And you've devoted a great part of your career to putting that information in indie creators' hands, most prominently through the creation of the Indie Connect service. Right. Can you tell the listeners and viewers a little bit about that?
Well, Indie Connect basically started out as a networking organization here in Nashville. I got 5 people together to say, why don't we get together once a week and talk music business? And the first week I had 5. The next week there were 10 people there. The next week there were 30 people there. Before I knew it, I had 6 meetings going every single week all around Nashville. and I was basically bringing in these experts who were calling me. They were coming out of the woodwork to come and speak. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody in the industry here. I had just moved to Nashville, and they were coming out of the woodwork to speak to the independents because they love that too. They're tired of the machine. And it was just amazing. It was just masterminding. Everybody sharing, this is what I'm working on. This is what I need next. And the information that was shared, the contacts that were made, I can help you with that. I'd like to go right with you. I know somebody that can do that. I got a neighbor that does that. It was just so powerful. And so I've tried to run other networking events, even online through COVID. I was the first one to put a virtual music conference on in 2013. And then we did another one in 2020. And so it's my whole mission has always been to make it possible for independent artists to have a career in the industry that is stable, that's profitable, that's scalable, as long as they have the passion, the drive, and of course, a skill or talent. And that goes for behind the scenes too. It's not just, on stage, but the hard part is when you're doing a lot of coaching, you're doing one-on-one, maybe small group coaching and stuff like that. I had to find a way to get it in front of an awful lot of people. My website has over 500 articles on it that I've written. We did a whole lot of videos. We were videotaping the meetings and putting them up online. I've taken them down. I got to go through them to see what's relevant and what's not still. But that's just always been my goal. And so when I find, it was six months ago or so when I thought of the idea of basically creating a TV network, for the lack of a better word, that outlines the entire industry, how to do it. Because what I found is that when coaching all these artists, every single time I get the same questions, the same challenges. How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I get my songs in film and TV? How do I protect my band name? How do I protect my song? I mean, it's just, there's so many questions that if somebody just had a very simple place to go and find that, their lives would be so much easier.
I love these kind of platforms, and I love when experts come together and make them happy. I want to kind of ask you a little bit of a philosophical question here, because you've uttered this phrase a couple times in the interview, and it's certainly one that I concur with, this idea of being tired of the machine. You talked about being tired of the machine. All the people that you brought in for those conferences in the early days, all universally tired of the machine. I would venture to say that I have never met somebody in the industry who wasn't tired of the machine. I've never heard somebody be like, you know what? I really like that machine. I feel like it's doing, I'm pro machine. So if that is the case, why do we still have the machine? Why does the machine persist? Why have we all as an industry not been able to take down what we can all agree has a system with flaws?
I think it's because the machine would not allow that. They didn't want to be destroyed. That's why they own a lot of Spotify, for example. They control the mechanisms that people were using to get out there, but they did not control social media.
Yeah.
And so social media was the breakthrough. And to me, that's the deal that has broken the bank completely for the record labels. And they're scrambling. When I talk to these people, because I'm interviewing, I'm not the expert in all these videos that we're putting together. I'm interviewing hundreds of experts, and they're all in the same boat. They're saying, okay, we have to shift. We have to change everything because social media has taken the control out of our hands. And, I don't know what the number is now. I think A2IM said it's close to 40% of the revenues is driven by indie artists now.
Yeah, it was like 20 not that long ago, which is pretty exciting.
Right. And we see it all the time, the effect of social media. People may not realize it, but there was somebody on one of the game shows like American Idol or something that was singing a song that was a TikTok hit, that went everywhere, and they got a golden buzzer.
Yeah.
And so, and the gal that wrote the song is, screaming on she's got her own video on there that she's screaming about how they recorded her song or, played her song on there. And it's everywhere, and it's not going to stop.
So you mentioned this platform that you're developing that's going to have videos on it. Is this the Cartney platform that you were
Yes.
talking about? Can you tell us a little bit about that? This sounds like a pretty ambitious project.
It is ambitious. I love it. I don't want to do anything small. Now, the way I look at it, there's three challenges that people have in the industry. One is there is no roadmap. There is no, if you're a doctor, you've got WebMD, or you've got a medical library that you subscribe to. If you're a lawyer, you have a law library that you subscribe to. If you're a musician, where do you go? There's no place to go. There's no place to go and get accurate, up-to-date information that you can count on. This is for real. And so my first goal was to be able to do that, to be able to answer all the questions that these thousands of artists that I've been talking to over the years all have, because they are, basic questions that can be answered in a 10-minute, 20-minute video. The second piece of it is that I see so many artists, I've got so many stories of artists that have been ripped off over and over again in so many different areas. So we're putting a whole series together. I've got 65 topics so far. That's going to enlighten people on all the different scams that are out there and how people get ripped off.
Can you give us a taste of that? What's the big scam that's going out right now that really makes your blood boil?
There's so many of them, but I was on TikTok because I love TikTok. I was on there 2 days ago, and somebody said, I got another one of those songwriting scams. And so she didn't say what it was. She said, I just, shook it away. And so I DM'd her and I said, tell me about this. And it was a birthday song scam. And if you haven't heard about this, it happens in all other industries. I've seen it before, but never in this sense. Somebody contacted her, asked her to write a birthday song for their daughter, said they would pay her $500, sent her a check for $200. When she got the check, she deposited, but it turned out to be for $2,000. So then they called up and said, oh, you need to send us back the $1,500. When the $1,500, so she did that. She sent the $1,500 back. And then, of course, the check that they had deposited was a bogus check.
Oh.
So that didn't go through, and she was out $1,500.
Oh.
It's, and here she's like, I should have known. I mean, I only have 150 followers. It's just rampant. And it's, those are the scam type of things, but there's always the producers that try to steal your masters, try to steal, a portion of your publishing, a portion of your songwriting credits. I'm dealing with that with a former intern right now, fighting that battle. And I mean, it just happens in so many ways. Songwriting contests and song pluggers that are fake, and it makes my blood boil.
How do artists navigate this? Like, is there any sort of overarching principles that artists should live by to try to not be victims of these kind of scams?
Well, there are, but I think two things happen. One, the scammers are really, really good at looking professional, and number two, it's an ego-driven business. So people who don't know, and they have to be educated in the industry, they don't know, and so they jump on board thinking that they've gotten their big break or something. So the way we're setting up these videos is they're separated by categories, but everything starts with before you do this. So my goal is that people will, before they make any move in the industry, will go here and look at the 10-minute, 15-minute video, 10-minute or maybe 2 or 3 10-minute videos on, okay, before I sign a management deal, this is what I need to look for. Before I look for a manager, before I look for a producer, before I sign up for a songwriting contest, before I, pay somebody to be a song plugger, before I, pay somebody to publish my lyrics. I mean, because there's so many different things that people get caught up in. And so hopefully that'll be the place that you go first before you make any moves in the industry.
And what's the current state of development of Cartney? When do you anticipate a full launch?
This summer. We're doing the scam videos first. We want to make them free. Because
that's what we like.
We got to. I mean, I've got too many stories, way too many stories. And so we're working on that right now. And we're interviewing not just industry professionals, but artists. We're interviewing, anybody that's got either a story or has expertise. We feel like we have to have the balance completely. And I'm amazed at how much of the industry has gathered around this. I've got over 100 industry pros that have signed up for being interviewed for this. And
That's marvelous.
nobody's ever turned me down. Nobody. And I put it on social media and say, if you're interested, sign here. And the level of people that are signing up are blowing my mind.
Well, it's sort of like the old days when you started Indie Connect, where these experts wanted to come speak at your sessions, because generally the people who operate in this industry, they come at it with a real place of love for indie creators like you. They want to help. And I mean, even now, like, doing this podcast and, the full-time client load, like, I'll answer every email an artist sends me with a question or anything like that, because
I do the same.
Right, because those of us who get into this line of work, it's a labor of love. Like, there's certainly more lucrative worlds out there, but we love creators and we want to help creators. And so, it does not surprise me in the slightest that you have no shortage of people, experts in the industry who want to help move this forward. That's so encouraging to me. It puts a smile on my face. And you can find out more about our guests' work by visiting www.indieconnect.com, and you can check out Courtney, coming this summer, we think, at www.cartne.com. Our guest is Vinny Ribas here on Break the Business. Let me ask you one more question before we get to our final question this week, because I was intrigued by an article I read there in Indie Connect talking about how it's important for indie creators to SWOT themselves. That's SWOT. And now I assume by SWOT, that's referring to a SWOT analysis. Now, many moons ago, I had a business degree, and I think I remember some random page I read in some random marketing textbook or management textbook about a SWOT analysis, and it being about companies and exploring strengths and weaknesses. I mean, again, it's been a long time. How does that apply to indie creators?
Great question. So a SWOT analysis means SWOT. It's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so when you're an artist, you need to know what your strengths are. If you're a good singer, obviously that's a strength. But when I ask artists about this, they usually have 2 or 3 things that they put on there. And they don't put on, I have a great personality, I love talking with people, I'm good at writing. And all these other things all play a part in, okay, how are we going to shape how we're going to market you? Those are all parts of it. So when I have people do a SWOT analysis, they start with the strengths, and then I say, okay, how are we going to capitalize on that strength? Okay, you're attractive. That's a good strength. We need to have that in there. That means maybe all of your album covers or CD covers or single covers have your picture on them rather than some other kind of art, because you're going to be attractive. And we just go down the list. The weaknesses are things that need to be addressed. And a lot of times they're really easy. You're not as good a guitar player as you'd like to be. Great. We have to hire somebody else to be a guitar player. We're going to get you lessons, things like that. They're usually not very serious things, but they are things that just, can be bothersome, that you're not quite up to par with that. So we figure out, okay, here's a weakness. How are we going to balance that out? How, whether we're going to ignore it and get somebody else to do it, or are we going to improve on something? Opportunities are literally exactly what it says. It's the venues that you have the possibility of playing. It's the uncle that you have who works at a record label or works at a radio station, or any of those kind of opportunities. Let's write them down so we know what we've got to work with, and then how are we going to capitalize on them? When are we going to capitalize on them? And then the threats, that's anything that might possibly ruin your career or stop you in your tracks. And that could be financial. It could be no support from your family. It could be a disease. It could be a medical condition. Those all have to be addressed. How are we going to deal with this? Once you do this, now you've got so many pieces that you can work with for marketing. What are the things that we have to work on? you know exactly what direction we're going in with all these opportunities. And we know the things that we really have to address first, the most important things that we need to get out of the way so that they're not going to be a risk in your career.
Taking inventory of those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats is so important for indie creators. The earlier you can do it, the better. And once you've identified them, as Vinny says, you have to then turn them into action items to figure out how you can make the most, leverage those strengths, and find a way to work around your weaknesses to move your career forward. Great stuff. You explained that really well. I feel like if you were my professor in business school, I would have understood that concept back then. Unfortunate, though. Before we let you go, Vinny, one last question. Again, you can find out more about our guest's work by visiting IndieConnect.com and Cartney.com. Vinny, one last question. Do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
What I find is that most artists do not know what's actually available to them. And so learning the industry is really, really critical. But studying, or let's put it this way, you set yourself some 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year goals. They need to be, these are my business goals. This is the kind of places I want to play. This is how much traveling I want to do. This is how much money I want to make from the industry. But then you have to do the same thing with your personal goals. And because, you know, you got to make sure that they align. I don't know how many times I've had a young gal, 21, 22 years old. I want to be famous. I want to be touring and everything. Great. You know, are you going to get married? Yeah, we're engaged. You're going to have kids? Yeah. When? 2 years. You're going to bring the baby on the bus? Didn't think about that. So, you know, you said, if you look at it that way, and you know that, okay, 5 years from now, I want to be making $200,000 a year from music. Then you got to look at, is what I'm doing now going to get me there? And if it's not, what has to change? You know, maybe usually it's the kind of venues that you're playing and the kind of venue that you're aiming towards that needs to change. There are so many different venues out there that are what I call closed or soft ticket gigs. You've probably heard that before, hard ticket and soft ticket. Hard ticket gigs are where you have to have the draw. Soft ticket gigs are where they already have the audience. You just have to be a great entertainer. Yeah. That could be a tourist area. It could be, you know, a college tour, a military tour. There's so many different ways. And most artists go after those hard ticket gigs, the local bars that are going to let them, you know, play for their door or play for the percentage of the bar or something like that. But if they go after the soft ticket gigs, then they can have a really long career. They can make really good money, and they don't have to be the marketing machine. And that's where you get your fan base that then turns into the long-term career.
Right on. Vinny, this has been a treat, man. Thank you so much for the insight. Thank you for joining us this week.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Vinny Rivas, everybody. Again, check him out at IndieConnect.com and at Cartney.com. Boy, what a blast. I feel so much smarter after talking to him. How about that?
Yeah, he had a lot of great info.
Yeah. So with the time we have left, Lauren, I would like to run an idea by you. I want to do a little bit of I guess show talk, show behind the scenes. Something I was thinking of, you know, I'm one of those people that get all my best ideas in the shower. And I have one of those good shower ideas today that I wanted to talk to you about with the 7 minutes we have left on the show.
Okay.
See what I was thinking about. Because, again, I was inspired to think about it again because Vinny was talking about, you know, events where people get together. And for a long time, I've wanted to get something off the ground and break the business where we don't just give information to indie creators, but give them a forum to create and to show their work out there into the world and to, you know, introduce themselves to a broader community and just give an opportunity to get rewarded for that talent. And since, as you know, I am the biggest Eurovision fan on the other side of the Atlantic, I'm thinking we got to do some kind of like monthly song contest. Here's kind of what I was thinking, and I want to get your input. Maybe you have some other suggestions. Monthly song contest. We have people who listen to the show, or if you don't listen to the show, I don't care. You submit a song, an original song. Mm-hmm. We pick 4 finalists, 5 finalists, whatever it's going to be, who then we do a monthly live stream where the different performers perform their song live and then we'll get like a panel of like 1 to 3 judges. Like we'll get like a Vinny Rebus in there, Ariel Hyatt, whoever it's going to be. Give those industry experts a chance to like, talk about their book or whatever, like do a little bit of that in the beginning so there can be some networking. But then we do the song contest, and then the winner gets a prize. And the prize, I think, can be some combination of cash, get these people paid, as well as like maybe, if some of the judges have a book, we'll get them a free copy of the book or something like that. But something that's fun, something that's competitive, that can build a little audience around it. We do it as a live stream every week. It promotes the podcast. It promotes the artists. The artists get paid. I'm feeling this. What do you think?
I personally want to go back to something I've been pitching for a long while, which is along with that, having people who want to have an opportunity for their music to be out there a little tiny bit with us, submit music to us that we're able to use pre-show, post-show. You've been on this for so long. You want like during the pre-show music instead of the royalty-free StreamYard music. Hey, don't knock Feeding the Ducks on StreamYard, right? That song is an absolute banger. I get nothing but praise when we play Feeding the Ducks during the stream starting soon lyric. But right, you want to, instead of having Feeding the Ducks from the StreamYard royalty-free library, you want musicians to submit music that we play during that portion. How many brilliant independent musicians do we have listening to our show, watching our show out there in the world that need somewhere, not need, but would appreciate somewhere to share their music, and giving them that exposure? I mean, that's what we stand for. That's what we do. So why can't we use our platform to do it? If these artists want to share their music with us, send their music to us, we can play one at the top of the show, at the end of the show, one of each over the course of our month. And guess what? That gives you 4 to 8 songs that we can play each month and then vote on if you'd like. But that gives them an opportunity. I'm sorry, you can hear us on Sirius XM, channel 145. And that's an opportunity to be able to say you got your song played on radio or anything else. If we can have some kind of a release that they can click on when they submit their song, if they're willing to share it with an audience, why not give it to them?
All right, so if this is going to play on the radio, because the stream starting soon music doesn't play radio. That's just on the live stream. Boy, are we getting inside baseball on this now.
You opened it up on the air. I mean, I usually rant this to you off the air.
I know, but like we got a few minutes, and I was excited about kind of throwing these ideas around. And maybe the viewers and listeners, maybe they have thoughts. They want to email us, breakthebusiness@gmail.com. Tweet at me at Ryan Kair. Let us know what you think of these ideas. But if you're saying that we want this song to get played on Sirius XM, then we have to play it sometime during the actual show and not just during the pre-show thing.
So we can make it the pre-show song and then play it out. Like if we did the show at hour instead of hour 5, or 55 minutes instead of our hour slot, we've got a little chunk of time where we could like say thank you. And this week we'd like to thank our guest Joe Schmo for creating the song you're going to hear now, and play it.
Yeah. Okay. So then we say goodbye to everybody, and then it plays at the end. And then so you're take.
I'm in for both. I mean,
you're gonna take 3.5 minutes out of my radio show. Is that what's happening?
I know. We can't run over because
valuable real estate.
I would feel really badly if we were like, sorry, we ran over and we're not going to play your song. But if we build
like
it
what
into
Jimmy
our
Kimmel
program,
does with the Matt Damon joke our apologies to Matt Damon. We had to bump.
Matt.
Yeah.
But again, yes, it's valuable real estate and it's valuable time on the show.
I'm kidding about that. People would absolutely want to hear from an artist more than me talking or you talking.
But what is more valuable to us and to our industry than the creators themselves? Right?
Fair. All right.
So it's valuable, but we should share that value with people that we value.
Well, I want to do both of these things.
Okay.
But I'm intrigued by yours because it's a lot easier. But over time, I want to do both of these things because both of them have the same effect, right? I want to find a way to build the community around this show. I want an Abigail Barlow and Bear style community that is just rabid and feels like this overwhelming urge to want to like contribute to this program and help it grow. Because, there might be a Grammy for podcasting someday that we could win, and we need that army behind us. Or maybe
not
we'll make
about-
a Break
for
the
us,
Business
it's
musical.
not about our awards, but I do want the creators and our listeners and the people who have loyally sat with this show, all the Mary Ambers out there, who have been here with us for so long. Like, I want to allow the platform we've built to help them build an audience while sending people to us. But I want us also to be bringing in people because we are sharing our time with creators and because they have a place not only to learn about the industry, but to learn about the artists within that industry.
Without a
So,
doubt. Our
I'm gonna
thanks to
keep
Vinny.
pitching this.
Please do. Our thanks to Vinny Rivas for joining us this week. My thanks to all of you. Thanks to you, of course, Lauren. And my thanks to all of you viewers and listeners for checking out Break the Business. We will see you next week.
Break